Hi boys and girls. Today we're going to talk about visualizing. And I know when I am reading a book, my family will sometimes tease me a bit because I will gasp or make noises or cry or laugh when I'm reading because I feel like I'm right there in the book. And part of what makes me feel that way is that I am visualizing. I am picturing what's happening in my head, and that makes me feel like I'm right there in the book and with the characters. And it's something that readers do that really help them to be good readers. So we're going to practice that a little bit this week. And it also helps us actually comprehend a book. It keeps us engaged, keeps our mind in the book when we're picturing it and what's happening while we read it. It also helps us to become attached to the characters. So when you're visualizing, you're actually working together with the author. The author is giving you the words and you're kind of picturing that in your mind, but you're also using what you know about the world in general, that we call it prior knowledge. If we're reading about being at the ocean, I can picture when I was there, different beaches I've been to, the things that I saw as far as shells or animals, maybe things that I heard like a seagull. And that might be in my picture, in my mind as I'm reading a book. And you may have been at a beach where you had a different experience, where they were selling hot dogs or there was a boardwalk with games. So each of us make our own mind movie that's very unique to ourselves and what we bring in our own mind into the book. So it's really the author and us working together. And a funny thing is people usually, when they have a book made into a movie, prefer the book. I remember walking into Mrs. Mark Antonio's room in 4th grade, and they were playing Sign of the Beaver, and I had read that book with the class, and I had one particular character, the father in the book, in my head a certain way. And when I saw the movie, it actually disturbed me that this father was so different in the movie than how I saw him that I had a really hard time watching it. And so I think other people sometimes experience that. Part of it is they're shortening a book down to make a movie, so you don't get all of the rich details necessarily from when you're reading it. But we all picture the characters and what's happening in a certain way, and that visualizing is hard to let go of when they make it into a movie unless they really match up, I guess, with how we pictured it. So I'm going to share a little passage from Charlotte's Web. I think we did a video a couple weeks ago, but this is a different section, and I'm going to show you what happens as I'm reading it and how we can use our poster of this week to help us with visualizing. "Salutations," said the voice. Wilbur, who was the pig, jumped to his feet. "What?" he cried. "Salutations," repeated the voice. "What are they, and where are you?" screamed Wilbur. "Please, please tell me where you are, and what are salutations?" "Salutations are greetings," said the voice. "When I say salutations, it's just my fancy way of saying hello or good morning. Actually, it's a silly expression. I'm surprised that I used it at all. As from my whereabouts, that's easy. Look up here in the corner of the doorway. Here I am. Look, I'm waving." At last, Wilbur saw the creature that had spoken to him in such a kindly way. Stretched across the upper part of the doorway was a big spider web, and hanging from the top of the web, head down, was a large gray spider. She was about the size of a gumdrop. She had 8 legs, and she was waving one of them at Wilbur in a friendly greeting. "See me now?" she asked. Now they have a picture in the book that goes with this. I'm going to show you what we can do when we're visualizing. And the first part we want to think about, what information was there in the story? So it talked about how it was in the corner on the upper part of a doorway. There was a very big spider web. It was hanging, and hanging from the top was a large gray spider. I forgot to write it down, but when we were rereading, it said head down. It was the size of a gumdrop. It had 8 legs, and one leg was waving. So again, those story details are what we always go back to look for. They help us out with so many different things. I mean, that's how we're comprehending all these little parts of the text we have to pay attention to. It's not just reading over them quickly. So as I stopped to think about that, how can I picture, what was I picturing in my head? Well, here's my best attempt. We have a doorway of the barn where the pig was. Here is my big spider web hanging from this upper corner, and she's hanging down, head down, and I tried to show movement. She's waving one of her 8 legs, about the size of a gumdrop. I'm a little smaller in my picture, and she's talking to the pig. So I'm going to read another section of this book that has a really great description of the barn. And you can make a T-chart just like that, or just draw a line down the middle and put story details on one side and then draw your picture on the other. It is the poster for the week, so if you check on your Clever page, you'll be able to find it there to look at and copy on your paper. You can listen to this first and just listen to this last section, and then you can replay it and copy down your text details and listen to it a third time if you need to, or listen to it while you sketch, but use those story details that you wrote down as you listened to help you figure out what you're going to draw. What were you picturing in your movie in your mind? So here's the part you're going to listen to. The barn was very large. It was very old. It smelled of hay and it smelled of manure. It smelled of the perspiration of tired horses and the wonderful sweet breath of patient cows. It often had a sort of peaceful smell, as though nothing bad could happen ever again in the world. It smelled of grain and of harnesses, harness dressing and axle grease and rubber boots and new rope. And whenever the cat was given a fish head to eat, the barn would smell of fish. But mostly it smelled of hay, for there was always hay in the great loft up overhead, and there was always hay being pitched down to the cows and horses and sheep. The barn was warm in the winter when the animals spent most of their time indoors, and it was pleasantly cool in the summer when the big doors stood wide open in the breeze. The barn had stalls on the main floor for the workhorses, tie-ups on the main floor for the cows, and a sheepfold down below for the sheep, a pig pen down below for Wilbur. And it was full of all sorts of things that you would find in barns: ladders, grindstones, pitchforks, monkey wrenches, scythes, lawn mowers, snow shovels, axe handles, milk pails, water buckets, empty grain sacks, and rusty rat traps. It was the kind of barn that swallows like to build their nests in. It was the kind of barn that children like to play in. And the whole thing was owned by Fern's uncle, Mr. Homer L. Zuckerman. So as you were reading that, what were you picturing? What did your barn look like? Was it old or new? What color was it? What kind of animals did you picture? What kind of objects were inside or outside the barn? Kind of go back and listen to this little part. You can rewind and listen to just the part that I read, and take really good notes on the left side of your paper, and then go ahead and draw your picture on the right side. And you could always take a picture of it and send that picture to my email. I would love to see your barn.